Killer is Dead is one of the last games developed by Grasshopper Manufacture to be released on the PlayStation 3. It's also one of the last games released on the PlayStation 3 that Suda51 has worked on. It was released in 2013, however, I just recently got around to playing it. Now, if you've watched my channel before, you probably will know that I don't tend to make videos about things like representation or any serious topics in video games. I don't talk too much about things that are like real and serious, but given that I'm making a video about something like that, you can probably already tell that Killer is Dead clearly has some issues that are very easily seen when you play the game. Female characters being over-sexualized in video games has been a problem for literally, forever. It has always been an issue where developers do things that are just not really okay for representations of women. It gets brought up seemingly all the time in tons of video games, and this game is definitely a game that kind of has a problem with that. And it's not a super surprising thing, because if you've played other Grasshopper Manufacture games, you've noticed probably that sometimes they do lean into a little bit of hypersexualization of female characters, and it gets annoying sometimes, but frankly it never goes beyond silly crap like in this game. If you're in one of the menus, the character Vivian, she bends over a desk. It usually doesn't go much further than that. And even that is not really a great thing to have in a video game. However, the problems in Killer is Dead are way beyond just that. There's a whole bunch of things in this game that are pretty questionable, honestly, but I'm going to start out with probably the biggest, most in-your-face issue that I see with this game, which is the Gigolo missions that are in it. Now, there are a number of issues with the way these missions work. For one, the very gameplay concept of these missions is literally to peek at the female character's chest and crotch area without being caught by them, and then to look in their eyes when they are returning your stare. So there's probably going to be a little bit of gameplay of it. As you guys can see, that's literally the goal of these missions, is to peek at the female characters without them actually catching you. Another issue with these missions is that they're completely gift-based. There's no actual substance really to the conversation, the one-sided conversation that is, that the female characters are having with Mondo. The whole point of it is to peek enough at the female characters so that Mondo pretty much gains enough confidence to give them a present, and then in return for the present, their little heart meter will go up, and that makes them fall in love with Mondo more, I suppose. And then if you can manage to get their heart meter the whole way full without either running out of gifts or running out of time, then they will give Mondo a gift in return, and there's also a little sex cutscene that plays afterwards. Now, obviously, the whole thing about this kind of being a commerce thing is kind of creepy in a lot of ways, but another thing that's really strange about these is not only is it just weird that it's based solely around gifts, but the fact of the matter is Mondo doesn't even say anything within these missions, which is particularly why I think they're sort of creepy. Not only is he staring at the female characters, the game is making the player do the same thing, but Mondo doesn't even say anything, nor can you make Mondo say anything during these missions. There's no sort of actual interaction between Mondo and the female characters. I don't mean to sound stupid here, but the female characters in these missions are literally being treated as an object. Along with that, there is a huge inequality between the amount of money that Mondo is spending and what he receives in return from the female characters, which is kind of another sort of not really great thing to have, because Mondo will literally spend equivalent of hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy these gifts for the female characters, which they're exorbitant prices as it is for the gifts that he has to give to these female characters. But in return, you guys will see the loading screen, he gets $5,000 back, which is literally a minuscule fraction of the amount of money that he is supposedly putting in. And when you first start these missions, Mondo will literally get $1 single in return, which is also not a great representation of how dates and relationships are supposed to work, really. And like I said, part of the issue with these missions is that there's no real substance to them at all. All you're doing is making Mondo stare at female characters, and as you guys can probably even see in the gameplay here, eventually it gets to the point where it doesn't even it just turns into a strategy game, really, where it's just like trying to get as many peeks at the female characters as fast as possible, because as you guys can see, to actually even finish these missions, eventually I had to start incorporating this like twitching movement from Mondo's head where he would like look down really quickly to get the like confidence meter thing to rise up. It's not a really good representation of dating or female characters or just how to treat women in general. And the thing is, you might be kind of thinking, well, Wulf, these missions seem kind of optional. You don't actually have to do them to finish the game. And you're technically correct. No, if you're playing Killer is Dead, you're not forced to finish any of the Gigolo missions to finish the game. However, you kind of also are, because so far as I know, they are the only way to unlock the 3 sub-weapons that Mondo has for his muscle back robotic arm thing. There's no other way, so far, like I said, so far as I know, there's no other way to unlock those sub-weapons other than completing these missions. So if you want to have a reasonably powerful Mondo for your playthrough, you're going to have to play through these missions and do the things like I said. So even though technically they're avoidable, it will make your game much more challenging. So in other words, it does heavily encourage you to play these missions. Outside of the Gigolo missions, I've also found some other kind of just generally creepy stuff that's within the game in relation to Mondo's relationships with Natalia and Koharu, who are the 2 female characters he goes on dates with. So, I mean, for one, he's going on dates with 2 characters who seem unaware of each other, and in general, that's just another sort of, like, not a good representation of relationships, because to date 2 people and then be unaware of each other is pretty much cheating. But another thing is the age difference between Mondo and these 2 characters. Whenever you finish a mission, you'll get a little mission report thing, and up in the top there's like a little card that gives you some info about Mondo, and one of the things that it says in there is his age, which is 35. So Mondo is 35 years old. Now when you look at the info for Natalia and Koharu on their subsequent missions, Natalia is 27 years old, which gives us an age difference between her and Mondo of 8 years. However, the age difference between Mondo and Koharu is actually much larger and frankly uncomfortable in my opinion. Koharu is 20 years old, which means that there's a 15-year age difference between Mondo and Koharu. And also, just to put that in perspective, I am older than Koharu. Me, Wulf, the guy making this video, I am a year older than Koharu, and I literally sit around all day and play video games and watch cartoons. I am a year older than Koharu, and I can tell you, at 21, I would not be comfortable dating a 35-year-old, and I feel like most people that I know that are around my age would also agree with me on that. That's a very large age difference. That is literally like college age to actual like grown adult, like has a job man difference. Like that is a very large and frankly just uncomfortable age difference between these 2 characters. And that brings us to the last thing that I want to talk about in this video, which is 2 very strange, well, and just frankly creepy achievements that are also available for this game. So if you look in the achievements for Killer is Dead, you will find 2 called Passionate Girl and Geisha Girl. Now, that doesn't really seem too weird at first. However, when you actually read the descriptions of these achievements, they both read as maid and then girl's name, your prisoner in body and soul. Dude, what? That is the weirdest way to put that somebody has fallen in love with you. That is a really, really strange word choice. Like, I don't even know, like, who would think to write that when, like, you literally could have just put, like, made Natalia fall in love with you, made Koharu fall in love with you. It would have sounded so much better. And to put it as made them your prisoner in body and soul, that is a weird way to put that. And again, another kind of uncomfortable part of this game. So to conclude overall, Killer is Dead definitely has some very strange and uncomfortable things that just some not really okay representations of female characters and interactions with female characters. And the thing that particularly almost annoys me about this stuff is that I don't understand why Grasshopper Manufacturer would put these sort of things into one of their games, when in reality, they're not that bad with female representation in other games. I mean, you can argue that almost every female character in most most Grasshopper Manufacture games are over-sexualized in some form. However, almost all of the characters in other Grasshopper Manufacture games, even if they are like scantily clad or whatever, they're all very like powerful, independent characters. Juliet from Lollipop Chainsaw, yeah, she wears a cheerleading uniform the entire game, but she's also the protagonist, and she kills zombies with a chainsaw and does a reverse Romeo and Juliet with her boyfriend, like saving him kind of thing. There's multiple female bosses from the No More Heroes series that absolutely can destroy Travis Touchdown in fights. So what I'm getting at is this is just kind of odd because Grasshopper Manufacture, they have written female characters before who are, yes, like presented as like sexy and stuff, but they also are very powerful and on the same level as the male characters in the games. Whereas in Killer is Dead, Natalia and Koharu are not really presented that way. So anyway, overall, I mean, this game is 7 years old. It's past its prime by nearly a decade, really. And I mean, it was never like it was a thing that people talked about beforehand, but just playing the game finally myself all these years later, I've owned it for a long time and just never got around to playing it. I just felt like I wanted to make a video about this because it is kind of a more serious topic, and it's, like I said in the beginning, it's bad enough to annoy me enough to want to make a video about it. So anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in future videos. If you'd like to see me do more serious type topic videos, make sure to let me know. And of course, you know, YouTuber stuff, subscribe. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye.